Is it visible? Is this visible? Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in this second session, I will talk about the processor modes and registers in the ARM architecture. There are some special registers. We shall be trying to tell you the necessity and roles of this special register. Something about exception handling, and there is something called thumb mode of execution. Also, very briefly about that. Again, we shall not be going into the very much details of this because it is not actually in your syllabus. Okay. So basic concept you need to learn, that is always help you in exam. Hmm. So this is the main purpose of trying to give you with some initial backgrounds of the uh, ARM processors, basic idea. Okay, so let's start with the processor modes. The ARM processor during execution at a given time can be in one of 7 modes. Okay, these are the available modes. The user mode. Sorry, I need to mute you all. Okay. So the user mode is the normal mode during execution of a program. So when a program is executed normally, we say that the system is in user mode. Okay, the user mode acronym is USR. Okay, USR. Now you know in processors we can have interrupts coming from external devices. If it comes, the program that is executing will be suspended, and we will have to go to the some interrupt handling routine, run that ISR interrupt service routine, and then again come back and resume the interrupted program. Okay, so in ARM, two different levels of interrupt processings are permissible or allowed. One is called the high priority, and another is called the lower priority. Sorry, normal priority, lower priority, same thing. Now this FIQ is a high priority mode. The FIQ mode is entered when a high priority interrupt is activated and is acknowledged. The point is to be noted that when a high priority interrupt is being processed, if some lower priority interrupt comes in the meantime, they will not be acknowledged. Okay, they will be ignored. So higher priority interrupt will be having a real higher priority over the lower priority ones, and IRQ is the lower priority or the normal priority interrupts. Okay, so there is a supervisory mode which most of the modern processors have. There are some instructions like supervisory call or trap or SWI, software interrupt. Okay, now there are various names, but the purpose of this instruction is that these instructions allow to transfer control of the operating system, control to the operating system. uh, well, in a computer where there is an operating system. These instructions allow the processor mode to be changed from user mode to supervisor mode, and then just like a subroutine call, control will jump to the supervisor or the operating system. Okay, it's now the supervisor mode is SVC. This is a protected mode, and this mode is required only when there is an operating system in your implementation. In all embedded system type application, you will not require this, but in system where there is really an operating system and you need some protection, you need to have this mode of execution. Okay, and abort is it is an optional mode for cases where you want to have memory protection. You want to see that when a program is executing, you are supposed to access only this region of memory. If accidentally your program tries to access any memory location beyond the permissible limits, now this abort interrupt will be generated, and the corresponding processor mode is called the abort mode. For handling memory access violation, the processor goes to the abort mode. Okay, and undefined is actually something which is kept for future expansion. Well, some instruction opcodes have not been defined, so they are undefined. So if by mistake you are trying to execute an instruction whose opcode is undefined, you get an undefined interrupt and the processor mode goes to undefined status. Okay. And it is called UND in short. And there are instances where you want to run some privileged uh, operating system tasks, and for that you typically go to this system mode. The system mode and supervisory mode are very much related. This system mode and this supervisory mode are very much related. I'm not going into details of this because it is not required actually. Just familiar with this name or the very basic functions. Now ARM supports all these modes. ARM is quite flexible in terms of its architectural features. It has a large set of general purpose registers I mentioned already earlier. So in total there are 37 registers. 37 registers. All of these are 32-bit long. Talking about dedicated registers, there are 7 registers, and which have specific purpose. One is the program counter. Then there is a current program status register, in short it's called CPSR. For those of you who are familiar with some microprocessor already, you will know that there are something called condition flag. Can you remember this condition flag? How many condition flags are available? 0, sign, carry, overflow. These are okay. Now this is like a flag register. Actually, this is like a flag register. Okay, it consists of several flags that are set depending on the mode of the processor or the instruction execution. And there are 5 saved program status registers. In short, it's called SPSR. Now, this concept is very interesting. There is one CPSR and 7, and there are 5 several SPSR. You see, in a conventional processor, whenever an interrupt comes, what do we do normally? We save all the registers in the stack. That can include also the status registers and the flag register. Go to the interrupt handler, finish everything, come back, restore all registers and status registers, and resume execution. But in ARM, there is no support for stack. There is no instruction to push or pop instruction in stack or from stack. Suppose a program is running, current status is stored in CPSR. There is an interrupt that has come. The content of the CPSR will get copied into an SPSR, then interrupt handler will run. Before coming back to the content of the SPSR will be restored back into the CPSR, and since there is no stack it is the user's responsibility to restore the value from the CPSR to the CPSR, and then again move it back and forth. And of course there are 30 general purpose registers. These are named typically R0 to R29. Okay, R0, R1, R2, and all the way up to R29. Total 30 registers are available as general purpose register. Okay. Now, depending on the processor mode, it depends how many of these registers you can actually access. 16 registers are typically visible in a specific mode of operation. These 16 registers are as follows. There are 13 general purpose registers, R0 to R12. There is no stack, but R13 is earmarked as the stack pointer. Okay. If you want to implement a stack yourself by software method, you can use R13 for that purpose. And R14 is a link register for subroutine call instructions. For a conventional processor, the value of program counter is pushed into the stack, but in this case there is no stack, so there is a special register called the link register. Okay, R14. The value of the program counter gets copied into the link register. Now, whenever there is a subroutine call and when you are returning back from the subroutine, whatever is then the link register is copied back into the program counter. Okay. Program counter is accessed as R15, and then we CPSR. Then after that the privilege modes may be there. You can also access a particular SPSR. So it's here in terms of the general purpose register where you are expected to store some data, and I told you the registers are all 32 bits in size, but in terms of the operations which are supported, you can have 8-bit operations also, 16-bit operations also, or it's called the half word operation. 16-bit operation is called half word operation, and 32-bit operations are here called as word operation. Okay, word operation. So when you are using half word operation, that is the lower 16 bits are used, and for byte operation at the last 8 bits are used, and these are not used for arithmetic operations, only for data transfer operation, because all arithmetic operations are only 32 bits in size. Okay, but when you are transferring data from one place to another, you can transfer 8 bits or 16 bits or 32 bits. From memory you can transfer 8 bits of data into a register. It will go into the last 8 bits. Okay, last 8 bits. So what does CPSR contain? Okay, it contains various flags. Basically, I have told you earlier. There is an overflow flag denoted by V, this one. There is a carry flag C for a subtract operation. You call it the borrow. There is a zero flag it checks whether the result is 0 or non-zero and the sign flag by n. In addition, the processor can be in many modes. I said there are 7 modes, but to keep with future expansion, ARM keeps 5 bits to store more. Okay, 5 bits to store more. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. In 5 bits, you can support up to 32 modes. Bit 5 is used to denote thumb state, and bit 6 and 7 are for enabling and disabling the uh, high priority interrupt and the normal priority of interrupt. If these bits are set to 1, these are disabled. If there is 0, they are enabled. The other bits in between are unused. Okay. These are. Talking about the special register, just a relook again. And this is R15 or the program counter. So as you know, program counter always holds the address of the next instruction in memory to be executed right. If the destination register is a program counter, it means you are jumping there. Okay. Uh, so link register is your R14, which is used for subroutine call instruction. Now in ARM, the subroutine call instruction is called BL, branch and link. Branch and link. Okay, and it specifies the address where to branch. Before branching, the current value of the program counter will be saved into this R14 link register, and then the destination which is specified will be loaded into program counter. When you are coming back, the value of the link register will be copied back into the program counter. So you resume execution from where you left. Okay. Then R13 can be used as your stack pointer. If you want to implement stacking software by means of software, you can do it. Okay, software method is available. And CPSR holds the current status register with respect to the program that is being executed, and whenever some execution, whenever some exception or interrupt comes, the CPSR gets copied into one of these special or saved program status registers. Okay, SPSRs. They will hold a copy of the CPSR. When you come back from the exception routine, the SPSR has to be copied back into the CPSR before you resume execution. Okay. Talking about program counter, there are 2 modes of execution: ARM mode and another is thumb mode. Okay, ARM mode and thumb mode. Uh, uh, let us make the difference very clear here. We first talk about the ARM mode of execution, which is the default mode. Now ARM mode says that all instructions are 32-bit wide. Okay. Sorry. And they are word aligned in this way. Now, word aligned means all instructions must start from a memory address that is some multiple of 4. That is some multiple of 4. Okay. The need for doing this, so I'm not going to going into these details. So when you interface, suppose when you like to interface a memory with the microcontroller, there is a concept called memory interleaving. Okay, if you have 4-way interleaving, then 4 consecutive bytes starting from an address that is multiple of 4 can be transferred in a single clock cycle. But if it is not so, you will be requiring 2 clock cycles. Okay, so so your memory transfer will become slower. Now to have faster memory access, ARM insists on word alignment, and multiple of 4 means the last 2 bits are 00. any address with the last two bits are 0 means it is a multiple of 4. Clear? Therefore it is an ARM mode, and the PC is expected to hold the address of our instruction always. The last two bits will be 0. Okay, so the last two bits of program counter are actually not used in the ARM mode, as they will always be 0. Also, PC program counter can point to 8 bytes ahead or 12, depending on the number of pipelining stages. Okay, but there is another mode of execution when you do not need the full power of 32-bit processing. Maybe we are using an ARM processor in a very simple application where smaller 16-bit instructions are there, some instruction subset here in the thumb mode. Okay, the instructions are 16-bit wide. Okay, and that means 2 bytes, and they are half word aligned, means the instruction address are multiple of 2. So earlier it was multiple of 4, here it is multiple of 2, and multiple of 2 means the last bit of the address will be 0. So in the program counter, the last bit is 0, which is not used. This is the main difference between the ARM mode and the thumb mode. ARM mode is a superset where all instructions are encoding in 32 bits. Thumb mode is a subset of that, where you make all the instructions shorter in 16 bits, because of which code density will be higher. For smaller applications, you can have a much cheaper mode of implementation. So thumb mode is used for such cases where you need small systems. Okay. So this diagram gives you an overview about the registers in the different modes. In the user or the system mode, you have access to the 13 registers, R0 to R12, 13 registers. Then R13, R14, R15, SPV, link, PC. These are CPSR, all these are used. The 4 SPSRs which are there, they actually they correspond to the other 5 modes. If interrupt FIQ comes, then CPSR gets copied into the SPSR. Okay, so CPSR here it is copied into SPSR, and this R0 to R7 will be there in FIQ mode, but the other registers will be specific to a FIQ mode. If you come back, they will again change, and in the IRQ mode, R0 to R12, the whole thing is there. Only R13, 14 are specific to FIQ, similar for SBC and abort mode. Okay. Now talking about the CPSR once more, this is again the picture of CPSR I told earlier. The last 5 bits, so now the specific bit combinations are shown here for these 7 modes. The mode bit combinations are defined like this: 10000 mode bits is here in this position. 10000 is user, 10001 is FIQ, then IRQ, supervisor, abort. Okay, so other flag bits are also shown here in this position. This is a T bit, thumb mode actually, if it is in thumb mode or in arm mode. Okay, that is to be defined by this mode. All these are already I have told you. These are conditional flags. So these are undefined, and this is the interrupt disable or enable bit. Now talking about the exception handling. A process like this is followed. There is an inter-vector kind of table called a vector table. This vector table is present from address 0 to from address 0, 0 cross 0 0 means hexadecimal 0 0. These are hexadecimal numbers 0 0 0 0 0 4. So 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 4 0 0 8 0 0 C 0 1 0 in this way. So each of these entries is 4 bytes. 4 bytes. Okay. Whenever any exception occurs, the CPSR will be copied into the corresponding SPSR. Okay. Even though there are 5 SPSRs, depending on the type of exception, CPSR will be copied to the corresponding SPSR. And the corresponding bits of the CPSR will be set depending on which mode you are in. And during interrupt processing, the interrupt bits will be disabled, because if they are enabled, then another interrupt may come in between also. Okay, in order to avoid in order to avoid this nested interrupt from coming while you are doing the interrupt handling, interrupt can be disabled. Then before coming back, the return address we'll have to store in LR register, link register. Okay, corresponding to that mode. There are separate LR registers for the different modes, and PC is loaded with the vector address. If you jump to this, for return, the exception handler will be do the reverse thing, and it will be loading back that SPSR into CPSR. Error will be transferred to the PC. Okay. So the point to notice is that the entries out here, these are not addresses of interrupt handler, rather these are instructions. Typically these are jump or call kind of instructions. So when you come here, there will be a jump from here to the routine. Okay, which is handling the interrupt. So these are all one word instructions stored in the vector table. Okay. So this is what I have already mentioned, the vector uh, table is stored from 00002 001C. One word is allocated for every exception type, and as I have said, this word will contain some instruction, some jump, some branch instruction, and it will branch to the corresponding interrupt handler. It doesn't contain any uh, it does not contain any address. Okay. So I'm talking about the arm and thumb instruction set. A quick comparison: in arm mode, the T bit uh, in the CPSR is set to 0, and thumb mode it is set to 1. The difference are as follows: in arm mode, there are 32-bit instructions; in thumb mode, there are 16-bit instructions. Okay, the number of main instructions are 58 in arm, and here is the 30. Conditional execution is a feature where some instructions will be executed depending on whether some condition is true or false. Okay, in ARM, almost all the instructions support condition execution, most of the execution, and but in thumb, only for branch instruction you can check for conditions, but other instructions do not support conditional execution. Now data processing instructions in ARM mode supports barrel shifting, but in thumb mode such instructions are not there. Here there are separate shift instructions and there are separate ALU instructions. Okay. And program status register in ARM mode, you can do read write in privilege mode, but in thumb mode you cannot access program status register. And for registers in ARM mode, you can use the 15 GPRS, R0 to R14 and the program counter, but in thumb you can use the only only 8 GPRS. Okay, 7 high registers and program counter. High register means the high order 16 bits of the registers, higher order registers. Okay, 16-bit registers. There are some specific registers which can be accessed. Okay. Now this is the last slide of this ARM processor. So conditional execution. Let me take an example here. Move. Conditional execution controls whether or not CPU will execute the current instruction. Okay. Now most instruction in ARM allows condition attribute to be specified. Let me take an example instruction like this. Normally, if you uh, do not use this EQ, okay, equal. Just imagine that EQ is not there. Move only, then move R1 comma hash 0. Okay, means R1 is initialized as 0. Okay, like you have you have seen in 8051 microcontroller. Okay. Now if I give this move EQ, okay, this means I am checking this 0 flag, okay, equal to or not. So 0 flag in the CPSR. If the 0 flag is set, then only you do the move, otherwise you do not do the move. So this instruction will be executed depending on certain condition. This is how the conditional execution execute. Now it makes actually the code density higher with less number of instructions. Okay, so this is the basic introduction or some knowledge about you need to gather about the ARM processors, ARM architectures. So that is the last slide. So that's all for today. So if you have any queries or any doubts, you can ask me. And probably this is the last class of AC403 microprocessor and microcontroller. Okay. So do you have any queries, any doubts relating to this ARM processor? Any doubts, any queries? Do you have any queries, any doubts? Okay, if you don't have any doubts, any queries, then I will end this meeting. So uh, read this very carefully. This all of these microprocessors and microcontrollers, and best of luck for your exam, both for internal and external. Okay, and in the meantime, if you have any queries, any doubts, you can ask me over phone, over WhatsApp, uh, or through Google Classroom. Okay, and the last assignment which I need to take it on, I think on Monday or Tuesday, that is for CA4 evaluation, okay, of your theory. So all of you must attend that assignment. You must submit that assignment properly with due time. Okay, no assignment will be collected after due date or due time. Okay, so okay, thank you all and best of luck.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.